Hey there, Real Estate Junkies. Before we dive into today's episode, we've got some game-changing resources to help you start buying and selling real estate on terms, the smart, creative way. Want to learn how to invest with little or no money down? Grab your free ebook, The 4 Game Plans, and discover the exact strategies we use every day. Get it now. The link is in the show notes. Looking for a complete step-by-step system to start making 3 paydays per deal? Check out the Quantum Leap System, our home study course packed with everything you need to close your first terms deal. Need a personalized strategy? Book a free one-on-one strategy session with one of our coaches. Just use coupon FREE3 at checkout. Ready to take action? Join the 3 Payday Apprentice Program and start working toward real estate success with direct mentorship. Want hands-on training with us? Spend 3 days at our In the Trenches Bootcamp, where we'll work side by side to lock in deals. And don't miss our biggest event of the year, QOS Live 2025. Connect with top investors, sharpen your skills, and take your business to the next level. Secure your spot today. All links are right below in the show notes. Click now and start building your real estate empire. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Yep. And that's when, we comes back to being confident on the phone with sellers, which is what'll get you deals. It's getting those critiques. And that is actually your biggest growth because it happens the fastest. Between that, we also have live seller calls, which is calls, even recently recorded ones that we've done with sellers. And I know when I started off, I was immersed in what we call live seller calls module in the Wicked Smart Academy. And that's Chris and Zach and coaches making calls. And I listened to it so much that I knew when a seller said something, I knew how Chris was going to reply. When you start coming across that's where confidence comes in, and that's what gets you deals.
Welcome back, everybody. Real Estate Junkies, coast to coast. I'm your West Coast rep in SoCal by San Diego, Rusty Ham.
And I'm Rick Abbiati from the East Coast.
You got to get the accent in there.
I had to groove it.
It's been a minute. I know you guys were probably on the edge of your seats waiting for our last episode last week. We took the week off, but we are regenerating. What am I trying to say?
We're re-engaging.
Re-engaging. We're good. We're back. Welcome back, everybody. Again, our episodes are on the 3 pillars of success: mindset, skill set, and systems. We're going to do mindset. It's all 3 of them, basically. The 9 traits of who's a successful associate in our community. You and I both have done the 9 traits. It's not what does Chris say? It's not a cafeteria or just pick and choose. A buffet. There you go. It's not a buffet where you pick and choose. You gotta be doing all 9 traits in order to do what we did, which is left our W-2s. And now we're free. How does it feel to be free?
Amazing.
It is amazing. I took a nap. It was great.
I was going to say mid-afternoon, I took a nap as well.
That's Real Estate Junkies talking about real estate and naps. But we have 9 traits, and we went over them before. Okay. We've done this for the community in the past. But the 9 traits, I'll just go 1, 2, 3. You go 4, 5, 6. I'll do 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, the reason this came up when we were talking beforehand was one of the biggest things is being confident on the phone and projecting that confidence. And that's built by doing these 9 traits.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge point because we had a call today. It's called our apprentice. Again, you can go in the show notes. There's a link to if you want to be an apprentice. Apprentice is a 12-week program where you have access to us. You don't have access to us one-on-one like an associate would have, but you have access on 4 calls a week. One on Monday, one on Tuesday. Our office hours, we have office hours on Wednesdays, and then there's a Wicked Smart sit down on Thursday, and also our mastermind. So there's 5 opportunities for these apprentices to gain knowledge. They just don't get the one-on-one. So,
You can't do all 9 trades. And when we go through them, you'll see why.
but on this apprentice call we had today, there was one guy that says, I made one dial. He said he was so excited because he started dialing. He just made one. And he had a live. His one dial was a live call. So he was freaking out. He was nervous. And we talked about some of the things he said. And I fumbled and bumbled because I was looking at the script, but then I got off the script because I didn't know what to say. And he was talking about basically just how he just wasn't confident. And I described to him, I said, we all threw up when we first started. But over time, using these 9 trades, we got super confident. We've gotten deals. And now, because we've gotten so many deals, we could start hiring us as coaches, right? Because of our confidence and what we can bring to the community now. So the first one is, and it's super simple. And I basically just described it, what is showing up. And showing up basically just means, and we're going to get into number 2, which is the individual coaching calls, but showing up also includes QOS Live, right? Which we have every year in Boston. That also includes what you are going to have. Is it tomorrow you're doing, or it starts Wednesday?
Wednesday through.
Yeah. So showing up to, what do we call it again?
The In the Trenches boot camp.
That's right. I wanted you to say it. But yeah, so just showing up to these things is super important. Showing up to the mastermind, showing up to the Wicked Smart sit down. Those are all super important. Like I think you and I, my 6 years, I think you're on year 4. All the masterminds that I've missed, probably I can count in one hand in 6 years.
The same here.
Like I don't remember. I think if I did miss one, it's because I was on vacation. So it's not a lot. So we've always shown up to these things. I've gone to every QOS. I have not missed one QOS in 6 years. We used to have one, it was called the Summit, or the business scaling. It used to be called, I think, business scaling summit. And then it's called the Summit. That was every
March.
Yeah, it was in March. So I didn't miss those. So it's like, and these are things that you have to travel to, right? I'm in the West Coast and I have to travel all the way to Rhode Island twice a year. You and I didn't miss, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is the coaching calls, which we alluded to, but more specifically is we have associates that have bought into the coaching program, and we meet once a week. It is small group, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 a weekly. And we go through mindset, skill set, and systems. We go through all those 3 pillars on a weekly basis. They bring deals. We talk about the deals. They bring calls. We talk about the calls and the objections and how to handle objections, all that kind of stuff. Number 3.
Yep. And Russ, I'll just throw a little piece in there as far as the coaching calls. You have some people, and it ties into show up. When you're in college or you're going through school, you show up at class. You don't just skip classes. Well, some people do, but it's so important because in showing up on time, if you're showing up to a coaching call 45 minutes late, 10 minutes before it gets over with, you're not going to get anything out of it. And you're taking other people's time, and you need to get value out of it. And it's that you could be missing out on the nuggets that can really help your business take off.
And I'm glad you brought that, because we call them auction thieves, right? They come on and they talk about stuff that is not important, right? We want to be efficient when we're on these coaching calls. If you have a question, and we usually say bring 2 or 3, and if you don't have one, and then you all of a sudden you go off topic and you're talking about your CRM, which, yes, it's part of systems, but we have other avenues to talk about CRMs. We want to get you guys deals and bring those objections that you got from sellers to these calls so that we can help you. Speaking of helping you, another way we can help you is call critiques, meaning you're recording these calls from the sellers and then you're sending them into your coach. We listen to it. We critique it within Slack. So it's a private channel. It doesn't go out to the public. And then you use ACA, right? And ACA is you take action, which is you make that phone call. You get critiqued, which I just talked about. You send in your call, you get critiqued. You make adjustments based on the critique. And then you take action by making that next phone call and using those adjustments, right?
Yep. And that's when, we comes back to being confident on the phone with sellers, which is what'll get you deals. It's getting those critiques. And that is actually your biggest growth because that it happens the fastest. Between that, we also have live seller calls, which is calls, even recently recorded ones that we've done with sellers. And I know when I started off, I was immersed in what we call live seller calls module in the Wicked Smart Academy. And that's Chris and Zach and the coaches making calls. And I listened to it so much that I knew when a seller said something, I knew how Chris was going to reply. When you start coming across like that's where confidence comes in, and that's what gets you deals.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time too. Confidence is huge. You come across confident, even if you don't know the script or you said it wrong. But if you come off confident, they don't know because they don't know the script. They don't know what you're going to ask them next. So another thing, gaining confidence through these call critiques. You're going to make mistakes. You're supposed to make mistakes. We want you to make mistakes so that we can correct you and so that you can get more confident, as we talked about.
When we have people submitting calls for critique, sometimes, and I used to do the same thing. Oh, that wasn't a good call. I don't want to submit that for grant. Those are not, yes, you submit those because we want to hear those, but the ones that you totally throw up all over yourself, we want to hear that because those are the ones we can make adjustments to.
Yeah. And there's I agree. Yeah. You don't want to send the perfect ones. None of them are perfect, but you don't want to send the ones that you're like, oh, that was so cool. Because even if you send those, we're going to tear it up, to be honest. And then I have a story of an associate who's frustrated. He started 2 or 3 months ago. He was hot off the press. He was making dials. He was sending in almost too many calls a week. We couldn't catch up. And now, because he hasn't gotten a deal in 3 months, he's getting frustrated. He's not sending in the calls anymore. And then now he's complaining that he's not getting any deals. And it's, again, this is not a buffet. You can't be picking and choosing. Okay, I'm going to go to the coach's call, but then I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to send in my calls. If you don't send in your calls, you're not going to get better. You're not going to get confident, and you're not going to get a deal. So you got to send in those calls. Number 4 is leveraging your coaches. So we talk about it all the time. We ask the associates, if you want to get a deal, get us involved. Either on a 3-way call with the seller. So let's say hypothetically the first call goes fairly well for you. They're open to the idea, then you got to get us on the follow-up call, a 3-way. Right.
Yep. And that's easy to do because when the seller asks a question, and the great way to respond is, that's a great question, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be meeting with my partner either today or tomorrow morning. Why don't I get them on a 3-way call and we can all be on the same page?
Yeah, huge. And then the second part to get us involved is when you're on an appointment. So when you're at the appointment, this is how I got my first deal. Mike McCreek was my coach. I went to the house, took pictures, walked around, took some notes, sat down on the kitchen table, opened my phone out. Mike called in. I put it on speaker and I shut up. And I just sat there and listened to Mike talk to the sellers over the phone as I was at the appointment. And I ended up getting my first deal. So leverage this that way. When you go on an appointment, don't try to do it on your own, especially in the very beginning. Get us involved. Have us call in. In fact, the other day, Wendy did the same thing. Wendy's been around for 3 years, but she went on an appointment. I call in and the seller had a couple of questions. I answered them real quick. Boom, boom. And the guy goes, okay, thank you. That's all I needed. She might get a deal out of it. So which is really cool.
Yeah. And we can usually tell if we look at, and we mentioned it many times, your KPIs, your metrics. If you're making dials, you're getting leads, you're not getting appointments. That's where, if you're leveraging your coach, most of the times you can end up with an appointment out of that call with a lead. So that's a good way to get your appointments up. Same with getting deals from the appointment. As Rusty said, leverage us and we'll help you do that. And we can tell by your KPIs, your conversion rates, what the issue is.
A great segue. That's what we're going to be talking about right now is KPIs. But and we've talked about before what happens in the trenches boot camp, right? Is we make calls for associates or apprentices, right? It's people that may not even be an associate yet, but we make calls for them anyway. And we usually set up an appointment. And we're probably averaging, I would say, 3 to 4 appointments every time there's in the trenches boot camp. Okay, so segueing into KPIs. This is not necessarily KPIs, but number 5 is nightly accountability. You and I still do it after 4 and 6 years. We still call Chris and tell him what we did for the day. What we do it a little bit different from associates because we also include our coaching moments, right? Where we ask them questions or maybe we tell them, hey, this situation happened on the coaching side, but we also do our personal business and give them our KPIs that way. So just tell the audience how important the nightly accountability has been for you personally.
The nightly accountability changed everything for me. I can remember when I left my W-2 and about a couple days into it, actually, I think it was a week. Chris gave me a week, but I left a message and I said, Chris, I made 28 dials today, 28 calls. And then I gave the rest of my accountability. And all he said was first thing in the morning, bright and early, Rick, huge red flag. Why you're full-time in real estate now? Did you only make 28 dials? I only did that once.
Exactly. Yeah, you didn't do it again.
I just fully.
Yeah, because we're full-time. Full-time means you have probably 3 or 4 hours in the day where you could theoretically just sit down and dial.
Between reps.
In between naps, exactly. What a huge problem we have, right? We got to make dials in between our naps.
The other thing is with the nightly accountability, we do a voice text, which is key because we can tell by listening your mindset. We can tell if you're going through some challenges internally, if you're struggling, and we can address it. But that's key. And we've had people that have been around for a while that all of a sudden had experienced, you can see that, or you can hear that difference in the tone of voice. And something's up. And it's when we can address it right off the bat.
Yeah, you can tell if they have a little pep in their step or if they're like, what I notice is their language. I only made 5 dials today. And you can tell that their inflection is low and drab instead of, hey, I made 5 dials today. Out of those 5, you can tell just by the energy over the phone. Yeah, great point. On my end, it's almost FOMO. I don't know if you would call it FOMO, but do I really want to leave a voice text and say I did 0 dials? So it almost forces you to do something. And the one thing about me is I force myself to do something on the business every day, whether it's 1 dial or if it's sending out an email or like I told you earlier, I was getting some letters. I go to walk every day with the dogs and I've been noticing some houses that have weeds in their front yards. I've been writing little handwritten notes to them saying, hey, or in fact, I saw a house that was for sale and now it's for rent. Perfect for us, right? That means they've left. They couldn't sell it. Now they're trying to rent it. I'm like, this is great. So I wrote them a little note. Hey, if I can show you how to make cash flow without having the headaches of being a landlord, is that something you want to talk about? So I did something today. I didn't make a whole lot of dials, but I did something today, right? I did something on this. So now I can call Chris and say, this is what I did. And he'll probably say, well, can we make any dials? Which is fine, but I don't want to come in. This is what I'm talking about is I don't want to come in nightly. I did 0. I did nothing. All right. So continue on the KPIs. Number 6 is the daily accountability. So it's different, right? So we got nightly accountability, which is every day, but we have these daily accountability, but it's specific to Slack. So we communicate through Slack often. And so this is where associates in their own channel, whatever group they're in that channel, they're going to put their daily numbers, number of dials, number of people that picked up, number of leads from those pickups. And did you go on any appointments, whatever. And then we do what went well on your call. What do you need to improve on in your call? So you're doing self-reflection. And then what was your win for the day? And your win doesn't have to be business related. It could be personal. We just want a win every single day. It's It's that 1% of every day you're getting better and better. And so you're looking for wins always.
Yep. And daily accountability in Slack. Yes, we have the nightly accountability with your coach, but the daily accountability in Slack, it's your own community that you're posting these to. And if you're looking through other people's accountability and they're making 20, 30, 40 calls and you made 8, you think, boy, I got to step up. So it picks you up and makes you accountable to the community as well.
Yeah, and also it also can create some imposter syndrome, right? So it puts the fork in the road, right? It's okay, if I need to get a deal, if I need to get better, I need to be and act like these other people that are making dials every day and they're holding themselves accountable. Or you can pout and say, "Oh, I can't do that. I don't have enough time in the day." And then they just stop doing the accountability. And again, there's the buffet where they pick and choose what they want. So the reason why we're going over this, which is the KPIs, is the high achievers, the me, you, the Mikes. We did this. We post our numbers every single day in the channel so that everyone can see it. And even if we had a 0 day, right? I mean, there was days we were zeros. We didn't make any calls. We're not going to lie. We're not like these superheroes. We're making $50 a day every single day. We had some zeros, but we put those zeros in there. And we said, our win for the day is I got to hang out with my daughter at her school. So we posted anyway, whether it was 0 or we had a great day. And then on that note, 7, relentless consistency and sacrifice. People always make the excuse when my W-2 got in the way. And I even just alluded to it. Consistency. I do something on the business every single day, whether it's one dial, one letter, or if it's getting on that and doing all my follow-up calls or any initials, right? So I'm doing something every day, including the weekends. I'm not leaving weekends out either. I do stuff on the weekends as well, appointments or whatever. And then having the discipline to do that every day. Now, do I take some days off from vacation? Of course. But when I'm at home, I'm working on my business. I don't know, allude on that a little bit.
Yeah. And this is where it really comes down to your why. If your why and you're focused on your why, you'll have the consistency and the discipline. That really is why we push so hard to define, and really everybody's going to why, but most people don't know really what their why is in granular enough detail to understand or to drive you. That's what drives you. We all talk about treating things like a doctor's appointment. You're not going to miss a doctor's appointment. But if you treat your business as much of a priority to achieve that why that you have, that's really how you maintain your discipline.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, and the consistency, right? I always equate it to like working out. It's like you work out every day, the endorphins are going out, your mind is clear and your body's feeling good and you're eating healthy. If you don't do that for a long period of time, it's harder to get back in the swing of things, right? So it's very similar to that. But it's actually consistency and discipline, right? Having that consistency and discipline. 8 is the sacrifice. So talk about this sacrifice. So I'll talk about it first. The sacrifice is when I first started. This is when we were both W-2s. So this is when I was a W-2. I was a teacher until 3:30, 7:30 to 3:30. I only had time during break and lunch. And then when I sent my kids on a mile run or had free play, then I made those sacrifices, right? During class, I would do free play, especially mastermind. This is what I was talking about. I never missed a mastermind. Can you imagine me being in class, teaching a class, and then just doing, hey, okay, free play basketball. I have to do this Zoom call for an hour. I did that weekly, right? I did free play every Thursday weekly so I could make the masterminds. And then I was coaching too. So I was coming home at 5:30, making calls from 5:30 to 6:30. So I made the sacrifice of not really hanging out with my family when I got home because I'm like, hey, I got to make these dials because when I go to my weekly call, I need to have 2 or 3 questions to ask them. I don't want to go to these weekly calls and not have anything for them. So those are the sacrifices I made for my business until I resigned or retired from teaching. And then now I have all this free time, which is now I don't have an excuse. But go ahead.
And we all have, I don't want to use the term, I guess I could use the term excuses. All have reasons why not to do something. For example, I didn't golf much when I was building this business. That's something you build in the time when you get to the point that you're retired, you can go golfing all you want. But, or sitting there watching America's Got Talent. I think that's what AGT or the shows in the evening. If that's the time that you can work on the business, then you should sacrifice that. Another one that I've heard, I have to do laundry. How long does it really take to throw stuff in the washing machine? It's go back to doing what you got to do, and it's distractions.
Yeah, you definitely. And because I was lucky, right? The sacrifices I made, I was lucky to be a PE teacher where I could just go, hey, free play, and then, or have another teacher, hey, can you watch my class real quick? Some people don't have that luxury, right? Some of their W-2s don't allow them to get away or have someone sub in. So you got to sacrifice someone, like you said, some of your personal time to build this business. If that's really what you want, right? We talk about your why, right? If your why is not strong enough, then you're going to find those excuses to not get on the phones or get us involved or do the previous seven trades. And the last one, which we feel like it's one of the most important ones, which is the weekly reports. And that's, it's another accountability piece, but you just go through your week. There's a few questions that we ask you, personal ones, right? What areas do you want help? And then you got to be specific, right? It's all specific driven. And then normally we would read those weekly reports before the weekly call, just so we have an idea of what we can help you on those weekly calls, right?
We base our weekly coaching calls on those weekly reports. That's the thing we do first. If somebody shows up to the coaching call and they did not submit their weekly report, they're going to go last. Yep, not that we don't want to help them, and we're here to help everybody. But we have to prioritize those people that are doing those 9 trades. So that weekly report, it's got your KPIs, what your goals are for the following week, what you need specific help with. So we can actually specifically address.
And we have, it's effort for effort, right? So we have these, I'm brain farting, but we do effort for effort. We complete each transaction with the highest integrity. We're looking to innovate and improve. So those are our core values. That's what I was brain farting. I know I wanted to list them just to jog my memory because I don't know what's going on, but our core values within the company, one of those is effort for effort. So if you are showing us that you are applying these 9 traits, then we're all in with you. But like I said, if you're using the 9 traits as a buffet and you're picking and choosing, then we're not terribly apt. Like you said, we're going to help you regardless. But we're not going to get put down a couple pegs and you're going to have to wait. Yeah, because if they don't have a week report, I note it. And then I only call on those ones first when I'm asking questions. And then if they don't have a week report, then, hey, do you have anything else you want to add or anything like that? Awesome job, Rick. Our cool down we were going to talk about a deal that an associate made. It was a cool sub 2 where the person just wanted to get out of it. We're buying it, what the mortgage is for. I think he might be giving him okay just for moving purposes. And then he's gonna take over that mortgage. So it's gonna be a cool deal for this guy, Lance. He's been working his butt off. He's a airline pilot. So he's again talking about sacrifices, right? This guy's flying all across the country all the time. I'm sure that he's probably in the airport making dials to sellers between flights and stuff. Good stuff, Rick. Glad to be back. So sorry everybody, we took a week off. If you're hoping or you're on the edge of your seats from last. We're back, everybody. No worries. Rick, any parting words?
Nope, I think we pretty much covered it. It was a great session. Went over the stuff that really matters.
It does. Yep. And don't forget to sign up for the In the Trenches Bootcamp and or the QOS Live, which is in Boston. So sign up. Those 2 links are in the show notes. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Take care. See ya.
Take care, everyone.